Hello, everyone. We are entering the last section of the whole event. And in the last section, we're going to get into a topic, I guess, is a trending topic in all of our companies, especially when you're involved in sustainability, that it's the topic of transparency, greenwashing, not walking the talk, etc., etc. Because nowadays, I guess you know this topic really well, but just to introduce it, we're seeing two key trends that coexist with each other and are becoming quite dangerous. From one side, we're seeing that consumers are little by little, we have those fans that are starting to see the impact and are starting to make some conscious decisions. And this is making companies starting to speak about it, to make a transition towards more sustainable businesses. And this, in principle, is great. From the other side, we, of course, have a huge revolution of information. We got the internet, and now everything you look for is accessible online. But if you are trying to prove your point, be it good or bad, you're going to have an explanation for that one. So when information is becoming the new currency of this era and sustainability is becoming a mantra for everything, these two can be a really dangerous combination for greenwashing. So this is what we're here to speak today in this section, and we're going to talk with Johanna from APlanet. Please, can you join me in the stage? Ruth from Smurfit Kappa, and Pablo, who is now part of CrowdFarming. Sí, tal cual, donde queráis. But is the co-founder of Auara. I'm going to this panel discussion is going to be a bit different. I'm going to focus in each one of them and how they're dealing with this topic of the over information but lack of transparency, the greenwashing, and being able as a company to convey what you're doing well. I'm going to start from that side, from home, with but focusing more, Pablo, in Auara's story. Can you first tell us a bit about how it was born and how the idea was born and such a company with such a purpose?
Okay, thank you, Cristina, and thanks for inviting me as Auara co-founder. Well, the story of Auara, I think, is in a short version. Is I think we are very grateful and fortunate because we have the opportunity. Antonio is a very close friend of mine and co-founder also of Auara. And myself, we have the opportunity to visit and to travel to countries like Ethiopia or Kenya or Benin in Africa. And in that situation, when we were 23 years old, we faced a reality that impact us very in a very strong way, because we saw like people nowadays that they doesn't have access to clean water. So it was like, okay, why this happened? I mean, and it's not only one people in one little town in the middle of nowhere. It's like 10% of the population in the world. So when you are 23 years old from Spain with all the commodities satisfied, but with a very strong purpose in your life, I think the combination of that two ingredients empower us to run Auara. And it was like, in an innocent way, we want to solve in our with our environment, to solve the water problem, but in a different way, like the traditional NGOs they are doing. And we found the first social enterprise in Spain, and we invest 100% of the profits that we sell through the water products in Spain. We invest that profit in water projects in those countries that we visit at the beginning. And yeah, we started 8 years ago, and now we fund more than 130 projects in 19 countries, and we give access to clean water to more than 90 people in the world. So we are very happy, and all of this is thanks to the clients that support us and believe in us, because I think it's thanks to all of them. And also in the journey, when you put like mineral water in Google, of course it happens, the plastic environment world that we are living. And we try to, from the inside of the water market, to change it. And we were also the first brand in Europe who used completely recycled plastic in the bottles. That plastic it made by other uses, by other already used plastic bottles. So it was like, if you believe that you can do it, it proves that you can do it.
And I see a challenge in having such a big purpose of kind of trying to end with this water scarcity and and having being the first social enterprise in Spain, being the first one to achieve 100% recycled bottle. How do you convey this to the consumer, being a new company and being able to, for them to really see the impact you're having? Like, you're buying a bottle here and you're having an impact thousands of miles away, and maybe people cannot. How do you make it this tangible for them?
I think of course, it's complicated because there are a lot of messages, and as you said, there is a lot of information in internet that no one could audit. And, and I think for a company, I saw like the companies as humans, because the companies are made by humans, and we have to try to transform the companies into more human behaviors, because as humans, the companies also fails and also make a lot of mistakes. But for us, from the beginning, it was, we don't have any, so we want to be completely transparent. As the water is transparent, we want to be like completely transparent. We saw our accountings in internet. We saw we saw all the projects that we are doing with which NGO, how much it costs, how many people is involved in the project, and how we are going to pay it. So for us, the basic and the critical point is to be completely transparent and show any information that we have, and also be very based on data, because if not, it's okay, I can say whatever I want, but if you don't prove it with data or with some tangible things, it's very difficult.
And I guess the water bottle industry is not very there. It doesn't have a lot of funds. People are like, I can open my tap and have some water, and now you're bringing this to me in a plastic bottle. Have you been accused of greenwashing, and or have this challenge of explaining why you're bottling water and putting it into plastic, and how did you turn it around?
Yes, but not so many times. Of course, we had haters through internet, in a lot of moments. But of course, as I said, we were transparent, and nowadays the water industry in Spain, it's an industry of more than 1,000 million euros and 4,000 million of liters every year. And it's a reality. Of course, in Madrid, you have the opportunity to drink tap water, but in other parts of Spain, you are not able. And there is some moments that of course, it's easier to drink like mineral water in a bottle instead of find some source that you can use your reusable bottle. But we want to transform the market from inside. And Auara starts because of the social impact, not for the environmental impact, but of course, we realized that it was like a necessity here in Spain.
And are you, I guess, last question, I promise. I guess, are you seeing other players following your trend, be it with the material or be it with the impact?
Yeah, and this is the crucial point, to be transparent or not. I mean, a lot of different brands use recyclable instead of recycled, and the customer doesn't at the beginning, or if they don't deep in the information, you don't see the difference. But there is a lot of difference because one is made by oil and the other is made by other bottles that is already used. So I'm very happy that other companies also use 100% recycled or 50% or 25% or whatever, because we, as in Auara, we started to use that plastic. So we are very happy to be the beginner of this trend, or this trend. I don't see like a trend, is a necessity, because the plastic is a huge problem that we have to face, of course. But, and in the other way, by social impact, I didn't see at the moment any company that invests 100% of the profits in social impact. Of course, now there are some brands, not only for water, but maybe other markets that support other projects. And of course, I'm super proud that Auara helps, or Auara be like an example for other companies to improve their social responsibility, whatever, or their impact in their daily life.
There's not still a social enterprise in that sense of 100% benefits towards.
I didn't see it, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you, Pablo. Now we are going to live with that packaging myths on recyclable and recycling, and moving to Smurfit Kappa with Ruth. Ruth is the head of sustainability and better planet packaging at Smurfit Kappa in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. And she began in the world of packaging with Danone, and she has already been with Smurfit Kappa for over 4 years. Can you start by saying what sustainability, the role it plays within Smurfit Kappa?
Well, when you said to me about this theme, this subject, a lot of things can come out of here. But for us, sustainability is part of our DNA. It might sound like an stereotype, I know, but we truly believe this. We have our processes the more closed and circular that we can. We are an integrated company, so we produce paper and we convert it into the board where we are going to produce the final product, which are the boxes. So for us, it's very clear what we have to do. We have the privilege of work with the greatest raw material in terms of packaging, which is sustainable, and it is paper. But we care about how we produce paper, how we care about the forest, and where are going to take these products of the land to. Again, forestry is one of the main pillars for us, and we like to say that when a tree is cut from the soil, we replant it. We plant a new one, three more, not only one.
And I know from our industry and from working with management that there's a lot of, like, plastic is the devil, but we need plastic for a lot of things. And one of them is, for example, for maintaining food, and we're strongly positioned against food waste, so we need it. And cardboard is always seen as the better solution for packaging, not when it's used and when it's not needed, but it is used as the great. So you already started this fight with other materials, kind of winning. What are the myths that we as a society have on packaging, and how do you play them when you're already kind of in the good side? And is that maybe I'm wrong?
Yeah, well, this is such a subject. We are not against plastic. We know that we need plastic. We are against the leakage of packaging waste. And the way waste is seen today, like for us, waste is a raw material, is something that we need. Recycling for us is very important, is really needed, is the way we can obtain again raw material to produce. And if in terms of packaging, we are used to take It's the way we consume nowadays. So far today's economy is still linear. So we take products from the earth, we produce, we consume, and we dispose. And that's the way we have to start changing the mindset of people, the awareness that does mean. I can see that, well, for example, in retailer, you have these plastic bags to take out the fruits and vegetables on the bulk areas. And this is not plastic, really. It is compostable plastic bag, which has to be thrown in the correct bin and separated properly, so it cannot make a mistake on the sorting lines when it's recycled. So the myths that we have found, for example, in paper industry, is that paper packaging is wasteful. It's something that is very easy to dispose. It's true, but it is recyclable. And we have the benefit or the privilege that our product is the most recyclable product in terms of packaging. We have a recycling rates of more than 85%. And for example, plastic has the lowest, or maybe other type of materials like cans, glass, wood as well. So we have to believe that, for example, for packaging, for product, it has to be a design which is fit for purpose, is what we like to say. If it has to be placed in a packaging, it's okay. If plastic, it's okay, because well, we don't like food waste, and it's very important to have that in mind as well. But fit for purpose packaging is our main goal.
And we were talking yesterday, a few of us, about recycling. That, for example, in Amsterdam, they just almost avoided recycling for citizens. And I would like to know: are we as consumers recycling, or as citizens recycling, or does it come mainly from bigger industries that have a lot of cardboard and put it in the right way? Or does my recycling at home count or not?
That's a tricky question because supposedly, yes, recycling is something that is real, is true for certain types of materials. You don't have the possibility to recycle everything. For example, in our house, yesterday I was talking with Magdalena about this. We don't recycle, we separate the wastes into the correct...
She has told me off about this before.
On the right bin, and then when it came to the sorting lines to be recycled, in paper there is no problem. You can throw everything in the related to paper-based products in the bin, and it will to be recycled. We need it, and it's a process that we truly believe. But for example, with plastic, we are not 100% sure that the recycling rates are the correct ones. It's very important because there's a lot of materials. We have PET, we have LDPH, high DPH. So how do you manage to separately recycle everything the way it's supposed to be recycled, and then catch that raw material and start to produce again? Because it's not available for all the products that is going to be placed in the market. So you cannot take, for example, a post-consume recycled PET to produce something that is going to be in contact with food.
Thank you, Ruth. We leave this for questions later. Now we're going to move into Johanna Gallo. Johanna is co-founder and CEO of APlanet. APlanet works more in the other side of this industry, providing transparency and giving the possibility for companies to measure and track their impact. You have worked with companies such as EDP, Leroy Merlin, and a long list. Tell us about APlanet. What's its purpose? Why do you exist?
Yeah, and first, thanks for having us here. So, yes, APlanet, we were born with a purpose. That is that the organizations, the companies, they make bigger positive impact and less negative impact. This is our purpose. But then we realized that they have to start with this path to purpose, and some of the, or most of the companies are not prepared to go to this impact directly. So what they need is first be in control of what they are doing, where they are, and for this they need data. They need to know what are these data in different dimensions also, in the ESG, in environmental, social, and governance. And then once they have the control of where they are, then set up objectives, where they want to be, how they want to change, and then go to impact. And this is when we realize that to help the organizations in this path, we need technology. And this is why APlanet was born, to help them with this transparency of data and then go to impact.
Johanna, we're moving from a very financial focused economy to trying to insert ESG, that it's about the environment, about social, about governance. Is this truly as quantifiable as finance, or really, for me, even like with the work we do, sometimes it's kind of hard to measure the impact we're having socially, for example, because there's things that are difficult to measure and sometimes easy to see. How do you put this into numbers?
Yeah, it's very interesting because some years ago, so financial was everything. Now, financial is not the only thing. Sustainability and ESG is as important as financial data is. And also, we see this because we see the rise of, for example, sustainability departments in the companies. Also, sustainability is now part of the strategy of all strategic decisions. So, the same way when you do your plans for next year, or you are planning where you want to go, how are you growing, you have your financial data. The same way now we see that in the organizations, they take this ESG data to these decisions as well. So they consider all this data together. And how they do it? Because we have many standards, many ways of collecting data, so that they make it very tangible. So it's like you have to collect this data. And for this, the organizations also, they need to know what are strategic data for them, what are more aligned with their business model, with their impact inside, outside. For this, for example, they do materiality analysis. They know what is relevant for them. They make the data very tangible. They collect from different sources, and then they incorporate in their decisions, the same way they do with the financial.
About this materiality, I always found it kind of confusing, because if we're trying to bring transparency and seeing the true impact, why are we focusing so much on what the audience wants and not what should be?
No, in fact, the materiality is in two ways. It's inside and outside. One is what is important for your business model, because also sustainability has an impact inside. It has ROI also in the businesses, because it creates opportunities. It also detects risk that you may have. So it's inside of the company, and also outside, because how are you impacting your stakeholder, for example, environmental or the society. So it's both ways, internal and external. And also the impact you make outside, it reverts in the business also.
And do you bring your clients bad news sometimes?
Yeah. So many times. So also because we say that to the business, what we do is that we bring this transparency or this clarity of where they are. So it's a way they know the reality that they have in their business from different perspectives. So what they have is a data set that they know where they are from different perspectives, and they can set up objectives to, for example, objectives for example, mitigate some risk. So if they are doing bad in something, they can say, how can I improve? What actions should I set up? But also where they are doing good, and they can use to communicate internally and externally. But sometimes there are bad news, yes.
And you were saying yesterday that kind of the certifications or the getting metrics are not the goal. They're a journey when you have to look into yourself and look at what you're doing and then carry on. What am I going to do next? How do you see, is there a journey from why a client comes to you and how they leave after you have given them, like, taking them through that journey?
Yes, so we have to say that the majority of our customers, they come from regulation. I need this certification, I need this data because a stakeholder is requesting for it, or I need to present this data too. So this is usually the starting point. Then they realize that the work they are doing to have this data to present to different stakeholders is also adding a lot of value, because they have very valuable information and they can build on top of this information. So they can do a lot of things with this data to, for example, mitigate risk, the opportunities, also use it for communication, inside, outside. So this is the most common journey from regulation or compliance, sometimes we say, to I have this data that are very important for me. And you mentioned that when our customers leave us, no, this is a journey that never ends, because first you have control on your data, but your data keeps evolving. The data changes. There are new data sources. For example, we see that now there are new recommendations on social data you have to gather and you have to build on top of it. A lot of changes in environmental ecosystem, a lot of changes also in governance, like for example, human rights, some other aspects. So this is an evolving journey, more data to come, more information that the organization realizes is very useful also to collect. And also there are a super big room of things that you can do with your data. Analysis, for example, what can you do to improve, how can you, for example, increase the ROI of the things you're doing based on this data. So a lot of things to do with information.
And let's say the questions you ask or the data you are trying to achieve, where do the guidelines come from? From you or from the client or from some kind of organism that tells us the E is this metrics, the S is this metrics?
So from many places. So sometimes it's from regulatory institutions, like they said you have to collect this data, this is where you have to go. They set up some kind of goals so that the organizations, they have to go there. So it comes from outside, let's say. Others comes from the organization itself, from sustainability department or from strategic departments, that once they realize where they are, once they have this transparency, they say, I have to go there, I have to set up this goal. And another is from us, from APlanet, from our technology. So here the technology is super useful in different ways. First is because it's most efficient to collect the data and to manage the data, but also once you have the data, so make analysis on this data sometimes is complex. And if you do it like a human does it, you may forget things, or there are correlations between data that are difficult to see yourself. So technology is key here to extract this knowledge and set up these goals based on data.
Last question. Is this going to be mandatory for all of us soon?
Yes, so there are two angles here. One is what is mandatory. So first, we have a lot of regulations and as are stricter every year, and also not only the ones that we know, like the non-financial report or CSRD or others. There are also becoming mandatory from stakeholders, from investors, for example, if you are like asking for money to banks, so it's not only the regulation that we know. There are many, many others. But also it's mandatory in another way. That is the organizations, they have realized that if they don't start doing things now, they won't be sustainable in the way of economically sustainable. They won't survive in the future. So it's another way of being mandatory. And some of them, they realize because of the ecosystem, what others are doing, what my competitors are doing, what other players in the ecosystem are doing.
Peer pressure.
Yes, of course. So it's mandatory in different angles. Yeah.
Thank you very much.